So in this video, we'll talk about object creation. So what I mean by object creation is, let's say I have a class here. So let me define a class. So we'll say class X. Okay. And in this class, let me have a constructor of X. So we'll say public X. And here, let me print something. We'll say system dot out dot print ln, and let me print something here, and let's say the value here I'm printing is in constructor or in const a in const x, which means if I create object of this x, so let's say x obj equal to new x now so if I run this code now, since in this main method I'm creating object of x, it will call the constructor of x, right? So basically when we talk about object creation, we need to go for two steps. One is reference creation and second is object creation. Now that means whenever I create an object, it will using this new keyword, I need to pass a constructor here, and when I pass a constructor, it will call this constructor, which is x, right? And this x bracket here will be called as default constructor because we are not expecting or accepting any parameter. So if I run this code now, so let's say run the application, and the output you'll be seeing here is in const x, right? But let's say I have one more class. So I have class y. So and this class y extends x. Now what we can do is we can create object of y and a reference of x, which means I have an object of y and reference is still of x. This is possible is because when I say new y, it is creating object of y, and y here is a subclass and x here is a superclass. So we can create a reference of superclass and we can create an object of subclass. That means whenever you create object of subclass, you get two objects, one of subclass and second is of superclass. And this x will be only accepting the object of superclass here. So it is expecting object of x. It's because in this statement y, I have two objects, one is x and second is y. So we are getting these two objects, and on the left side we are sending only x. Clear? So this is how we can create objects, right? So if I define a constructor here, let's say public y, and we'll say bracket, and in this constructor, let me print system dot out dot print ln, and if I say here it is in const y. Now see, I'm creating an object of y and the reference is of x. Now whenever I create object of y, it will call the default constructor of y, right? So the output we are expecting here is in const y. So I guess you'll be guessing the same answer. So let me run this code to see what the actual output is. So if I say run as Java application, the output is in const x and in const y. But why x? The object we are creating is of y, right? Then why it is calling x? It's because whenever you create object of subclass, you get two objects, object x and object y. Since we are getting object of x, it will call the default constructor of x class, and that's why it is calling first int x and in const x, and then it is calling in const y. Okay, so let's say if I have a method here which is public void show, and in this show let me print system dot out dot print ln, and in this method I will pass in this print ln, let me pass in show x. So if I run the I can call it's obj dot show. It's because the reference is of x, so we can use reference x to call this show. Simple. So yeah, so whenever you get object of subclass, you get object of superclass also. Clear? Now what if I create one more constructor here, which is public y, and in this public y let me pass a variable I, and if I write here which is system dot out dot print ln, and if I print here it is in const y para, because we are writing this code in a parameterized constructor. And if I call here 5, then what will be the output? It's because we are calling a parameterized constructor of subclass. What will be the superclass? What will the super class constructor it will call? Default or parameterized? That will answer in the next part.